What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the greatest homesteading channel on the planet that typically has nothing to do with homesteading whatsoever, homesteading off the grid. So I was just kind of skimming through the comments in the comment section of the channel here the last couple of days, and I've gotten a couple of questions, requests, assumptions, and I thought, nah, it couldn't be, until I received a particular email this morning. So I'm going to read first a few of the comments and give some shout outs. Mary Ann McKay 5766, if this is you, shout out. Mary Ann McKay writes, what about the fires in the Carolinas? Where did they come from? Were they set? Unless you've been under a rock lately, you know that there are raging wildfires in both North Carolina and South Carolina right now. And I'm thinking, I read that and I thought, well, somebody's burning when they're not supposed to be, or threw a cigarette out the window. That's how these things start. But then Zia Zan, W3E, says, Kevin, do a video on all the fires in the South. And I'm thinking, well, what is it that the lamestream media isn't covering? Because these fires are all over everywhere you look as far as social media, the media goes. How am I supposed, what? Does this person want me to go back down there, take another trip, like I did the Key West recently when I was checking out the chemtrails in the spring? And I thought, I don't really feel like going down there and getting involved with these fires or wildfires. Then I found another one from Doris Reynolds, 9623. And this piqued my interest, and I think I started to see what people were kind of getting at. I started picking up what they were laying down. Doris Reynolds writes, I definitely believe drones are used to start fires. I've thought about it for a long time now. God only knows who or what country is in the United States using drones as weapons. I thought, yeah, maybe there's a connection. And who's to say that it's a different country? And then finally, the last comment, then I'm going to read you the quite terrifying email that I got. This one comes from Catherine Champ, excuse me, 9860, who had a lengthy comment, but part of the comment was this. A lot of chicken barns have mysteriously caught on fire in this county. It's just very strange, and a lot of people have been sick in this area. We had drones in this area before the fires as well, which I think is strange. So I was, again, picking up what y'all are laying down. I was like, is there a connection? How can we find out if there is or if there isn't? And I'm going through the literally hundreds of emails that I get every night, and I got this from an anonymous sender. Pay very close attention. I want to state for the record right now that I do not, I can only read you what was sent to me. I have no clue about the validity of this email, but this individual sounded so convincing that they convinced me enough to come out here and read it to you. So pay very close attention. Hi, Kevin, they write. Whatever you do, keep me anonymous, though I know you'll have to due to how I've gone about sending this message. I'm sending it through an email account that I just created in a public library, and that I will deactivate as soon as this email is sent. I know that sounds suspicious, and you might not believe a word of this story after such a secret squirrel disclosure like this, but I assure you that every word is true, and if people like you and I, true patriots in my opinion, do not get word out on these evil deeds, no one will. The mainstream media would never believe it, nor would the majority of the sheeple, and the government, or at least whoever is truly behind all this, if we ever find out, will be a miracle if you ask me, will certainly never come forward and admit to these heinous acts, which are nothing short of crimes against humanity and treason against these United States. It's pretty serious accusations. They continue. I live not far from where the fires are raging in South Carolina. Carolina Forest, in fact, though that's not where I'm sending this email from. I have decided to take my wife and our 2 dogs away, he puts in quotes, for a while. Our 3 children are all grown and are no longer in the state, so I know they are safe, or at least I hope so, as this evil seems to know no boundaries. Anyway, my wife and I are avid hikers. We used to be marathon runners, but as I'm sure you know yourself with your extensive distance running background, the old joints just can't take the pounding like they used to. So as we've aged, we've run much less and biked, walked, and hiked more. It keeps us fit, and we love the time together. Sadly, I can relate all too well to that. Anyway, just a few days ago, the day before the fires in the Carolinas started, remember that, folks, to be exact, my wife and I were hiking one of our favorite trails. It's called Table Rock National Recreation Trail. It's a quite hardy set of trails that consists of more than 10 miles worth of trails that ascends nearly 2,000 feet by the time you reach the top. That's a pretty steep climb. Though the trail is steep, it is not treacherous. It's my wife and my favorite in the area, not just because of the amazing workout we get from going to the top, but due to the beautiful view we're rewarded with once we get there. Anyway, on the day in question, my wife and I were nearly at the top when we heard a strange humming sound. We looked off into the direction from which the sound was coming, and there, hovering about 6 feet off the ground, were 6 drones. I counted them, and they were in the formation of a flock of geese, just as one of your viewers described in a recent video. In case you missed it, we got a message from somebody out of northern Florida, I believe it was just yesterday, that saw a similar formation of drones laying waste to his garden space. Continuing with today's email, my wife and I stopped in our tracks. Instinct told me that this flock of drones had been making their way around the mountain, and when they, quote, saw us, however possible that is, they froze in their tracks. My gut telling me, hoping we didn't see them. However, we had, and as we stood there staring at them, they all slowly did a 180-degree turn to face the other direction, and then they slowly, as if trying to sneak away, sneaked away. We assumed there was a hobbyist or a group of hobbyist drone people at the peak, which was only a quarter of a mile away. But when we reached the peak, literally only a few minutes later, there was no one there. My wife and I had packed a lunch, like we always do when we make this hike, and after taking a few minutes to recover from our climb, we found a comfortable rock to sit on and have a picnic. While we were eating, we noticed that flock of half a dozen drones again. This time about half a mile down the hill from us. They were easy to see because this is a very rocky portion of the forest, made up more of boulders than trees, so visibility can extend for quite a distance. Anyway, we watched as these drones did almost what honeybees might do when trying to lead the hive to a food source. We know this dance well because we've raised bees for over 30 years. In case you don't know, folks, that's one of the ways in which bees communicate. If they find a food source, they'll come back to the hive and they dance and move their abdomen certain ways, shake their butts, to let the other bees know the distance, the direction, etc. It's a really amazing thing. They continue. A couple of the drones would move around in an odd fashion while the other 4 watched. And then, and this is why I'm sending this email, we saw something that at the time I would have considered completely unexplainable, but which now I think might be able to be explained. One of the 2 dancing drones literally sprayed a flame as if it had a built-in flamethrower and set an old seasoned tree stump on fire. My wife and I actually stood up, nearly panicking, thinking we were witnessing the beginning of a forest fire. However, before our heart rates even had time to go up further or begin to come down, the other dancing drone, he puts in quotes, sprayed what appeared to be a foam-type substance over the flames, and they were immediately extinguished. That really caught my attention, folks. A foam-type substance. That's what our contactee from down in northern Florida claimed drones sprayed over his garden space. Continuing with this email. Must be the Forest Service, my wife said, turning to face me. Maybe testing out some sort of new wildfire fighting technology. Must be, I said. We watched as the drones moved a couple of 100 yards to our left, still within sight, and then 2 more of the drones, or maybe the same 2, which had done so before, we couldn't tell, did the dance again, and then once again, dead undergrowth was set aflame and then immediately put out by the foam of another drone. After that, the drones rose to a height of about 20 feet off the ground in that tight V formation, and then they jetted away so fast in the direction of Carolina forest that you literally couldn't see how fast they were going with the naked eye. Kevin, I know I sound crazy, but again, just to be on the safe side, I am sending this email from an account that will only be used once from a public library in a town in which I've never visited. My wife and I will be gone for a while. I'm not saying where we're going or how long we'll be, but we are not returning to our home in South Carolina until this mess is completely settled. But my fear, Kevin, is that it never will be, and God only knows. After California, and now the Carolinas, who's next? Anonymous. Boggles my mind, absolutely boggles my mind to even think that's a possibility. Folks, if you've got any strange, creepy, weird stories associated with the paranormal, supernatural, cryptids like Bigfoot, Sasquatches, UFOs, drones, orbs, aliens, abductions, and you want those stories put out there, you can send them to the channel. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. If you want us to use your name, let us know and we will. If you wish to remain anonymous like the sender's email that we just read, let us know and we won't mention you by name. Folks, there's something going on out there, or should I say up there, as we can clearly hear something that cannot be seen. Keep your head on a swivel, stay hyper vigilant, and keep your eyes on the sky. We'll see you for more next time.